All right, let's continue with the bond. With the bond, both the maturity date and the face value are certain. Therefore, there are only two possible outcomes if a bond owner holds the bond until maturity, right? So the borrower pays maturity value of the bond to lender, and that is one of the outcomes. Okay, the borrower pay the face value, right? The maturity value of the bond to lender on the maturity date, or the borrower defaults on the loan, right? So lender gets $0 back. So the major concern of a bond owner then is whether the bond will pay off. So the bond owner just has to estimate, right, the possibility that the borrower will default. The key risk of holding a bond is default risk. What is the default risk? This is the risk that the borrower will not repay the bond. Since there are only two possible outcomes, default risk is the primary concern of the bond owner. So let's define one more time. The default risk means the risk that the borrower will not pay off the bond. And the greater the risk of default, the lower the price and higher the interest rate of the bond. If I know that I would lend money to, a company that really high risk, I would want to have a high return, meaning I'm going to pay really low, price for the bond, right? So that implies very high interest rates, correct? So, if you are trying to sell bonds to finance your business, if your friend really trusts you, right, and believes your business will succeed, she might buy your bond of that $10,000 bond for $9,000. So this price means you pay her 11% interest rate for the use of the funds for a year. On the other hand, if your friend is skeptical about either your integrity or the prospects of your business succeeding, she may only be willing to pay you $8,000 for your $10,000 bond. So this means you will pay 25% interest for the loan instead. So therefore, as the risk of default increases, the interest rate rises and the price of the bond falls. So bond interest rates rise with default risk. Okay, next one. A typical bond holder may have difficulty judging the default risk of any one company. So let alone the thousands of firms that sell bonds in the developed economy, right? So because of this reason, a credit rating agencies, because it's CRAs, have emerged to evaluate the default risk of all borrowing entities and then give them a grade that depends on the likelihood of default. These rating agencies provide information to a potential bond buyer. So who are these rating agencies? The leading agencies are Moody's, Standard & Poor's, S&P, and Fitch's, right? So these are the three big ones. What is the purpose? Main purpose of these rating agencies or credit rating agencies is to evaluate the default risk of all borrowing entities and give a grade showing their likelihood of default. So the validity of ratings and the credit rating agency operations have been called into questions following the Great Recession because this is a long story, but if you'd like to know more, we can talk a little bit more about this. The rating agency did not do a good job in, giving or evaluating the risk of a lot of securities out there. All right, so now we are going to look at how the two things that we just talked about. One is the default risk, right? And the bond ratings, right? We already know the default risk will affect the price in one way, but how about the bond ratings? Let's take a look at this graph. So price falls. I already give you the answer. Price falls when bonds are downgraded. Okay, all right, so here we go. On the vertical axis is the price of the bond, and on the horizontal axis is a quantity of bonds, bought and sold. The supply of bonds on the business side, right? And the demand for bonds, that's on the seller side, right? I would demand the bonds if I want to lend money to a firm. So the price of this bond, let's say assume is $89,000 for the face value of $100,000. But the price at inception is $89,000. So something happened to the future prospects of this company. Perhaps a competitor continues to attract consumers and fewer people need the company. So if this is the case, it will decrease the probability that you will pay off the bond as they mature. I mean, the company will pay off the bonds as they mature. So the demand for this bond is going to decline. You see, the default risk is a bit higher because the competitor is doing better and the chance of making profit is smaller, right? So as demand declines, the market price of your bonds, of this particular bond, is gonna fall, right? Which means interest rate rises. So from 98,000 to 97,000, the interest rate is much higher. So in other words, greater default risk makes it more costly for firms to borrow. So the default risk could be viewed or represented by being downgraded by the rating agency. So let's take a look at bond ratings and default risk on the next slide. So these bond ratings and default risk, it might be a little small, but this is from your book 10.2, table 10.2. So this is just sample of bond ratings from Standard & Poor's. So we have AAA, AA, A, triple B, double B and B, triple C, double C, and so on. So the investment grade is from the triple B, okay, and above. So let's see, triple B is said grade is lower medium, okay, so triple B and above, those are investment grade. Double B and below, these are what we call junk bond, okay? These are non-investment grade and or speculative, right? Very speculative. So this grade, the rating will really, show how much of the default. For example, let's say, take a look at the AAA. You see Harvard University, right? Microsoft, University of Virginia. These two universities issued bonds to what? Raise fund for building a new building and things like that, like new labs and so on. So they have high return and they could pay back this loan. So they got a really low interest rate for their bonds because the default risk is very low. Now, that's part of the first one, right? The first tools is bond, the first instrument is bond. So now let's take a look at the second instrument, stocks, okay? Stock shares. Why would a firm sell stocks instead of bonds? Remember, selling bonds meaning borrowing money and then pay interest rate, right? Bond financing means the firm has a lot of bills that must be paid. When IBM sells $10 million in 10-year bonds, that leads to a new obligation on their part. They have to pay $10 million in 10 years. Got to pay that back. But if these bills are unpaid, meaning the firm defaults on their bonds, the owners of the firm may need to declare bankruptcy and lose the firm altogether. But with stocks, the owner can sell shares of the firm right, to others and move forward without the burden of debt from bonds. So basically, it's the ownership shares in the firm, right? And the shareholders have some influence in the operations of the firm. So if the shareholder owns more than 50% of the shares, they control more than 50% of the ownership vote. So have a share in a company, you have the right to vote, okay? So again, when a firm sells stocks, the stockholders take on the risk that if the firm falters, the price of the shares they own will decrease. So firms can sell shares and move forward without the burden of debt from having to pay back a bond in the future. All right. So the term secondary market. The secondary market, this is kind of already used, okay? A used security just means you are not buying the security directly from the firm whose name is on the security, the bond or the stocks, right? So the secondary market means where the securities are traded after their first sale. And the secondary markets are very important institutions that foster both direct and indirect investment. Okay, this is analogous to a used car market. Often sold to investors through a broker. And this can help enable firms to sell bonds at a higher price, and meaning lower interest rates, since demand for assets increases when they can be resold. What does it mean? It means if I am going to lend a company, right, lend some money to a company, and they ask for a 15-year bond, I look at, okay, I'm going to lock my money here for 15 years. If this bond is really active in the secondary market, that means if I change my mind before the 15 years, I can just resell, right, or sell this bond in the secondary market. So in other words, secondary market, the existence of a secondary market enable firms to sell the bond at a higher prices, meaning it's very the liquidity in the secondary market make me confident that I can sell my bond anytime I want, right? So I'm not going to discount too much, and I might pay a really high price at inception. Okay, so that could increase the demand for the bond. So the stock markets that we are kind of familiar with are secondary markets, okay? What are these stock markets that we kind of used to? New York Stock Exchange, NYSE, NASDAQ, right? National Association of Securities Dealers Automated Quotations. Those two markets are an example of secondary market. So now let's take a look how the secondary market, the existence of secondary markets helped with the bond price at inception. Okay, so for example, the supply of bonds, that's from the companies, right? They want to borrow money, so they issue bonds. And then the demand for bonds, that is on our side, meaning the demander means the savers, right? So the term security means both stocks and bonds, okay? So if the price at the moment is P1, and then the people buying these bonds, buying these stocks, knowing fully that the very active secondary market is going to happen, so they would demand for more of these bonds or these securities, right? Because it's really easy to, sell or resell in that secondary market. So that means the price of the bonds is going to be, higher, right? And more demand, higher price, and that implies lower interest rates. So this is actually benefiting for the company, right? For the firm, this is helpful. As it lowers the interest rate, it pays, and therefore the cost of borrowing will be lower. All right. So I'm going to stop here and go into the next PowerPoint.